Hi, everybody. This is Marlene with Miami Ghost Chronicles Stories of the Supernatural. And I hope you enjoy this new show, whether you're viewing it on the internet or listening to a podcast version of the episode. I do want to thank you for being part of my audience. You can also find links to videos or podcasts on miamighostchronicles.com, as well as where you can submit your story about any eerie experiences you've had, which I would love to hear about. Just go to the Submit Your Story tab. Please subscribe to our channel so that you receive notification of when we release a new show. And find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. This is where I usually live stream and where I give you a behind the scenes look at locations where new episodes are being filmed at. I also tell you about all the interesting guests that will be appearing soon on Stories of the Supernatural. I hope you enjoy the show, and I think you are all wonderful. Hi, everybody. It's Marlene with Miami Ghost Chronicles Stories of the Supernatural. How is everybody doing today? Me, I'm doing fantastic. It's a good day here. For once, here in South Florida, we're going into the rainy season, which means it's hot, and very humid because it's just all it does is rain. And like I tell everybody here down in South Florida, we've got two types of season or two types of weather, hot or hotter. So, yeah, if you see me, it's like even wearing this is like, oh my God, it's hot and humid. But anyway, guys, today I have a fantastic and super interesting guest. This lady's name is Tisha Morris. And as you saw by that intro prior to that, this is all about one of I think is super interesting and how can I say it, that people are becoming more aware of as time passes, which is Feng Shui. And we're going to talk about what that is, and as you can tell, what you can do if you need help with that. But anyway, about Tisha, prior to working with spaces, she was a practicing attorney for over 10 years. However, she discovered she loved yoga, and she also had some premonitions, as in dreams, and of course that led her to tapping into her creativity and working with subtle realms of energy, which some people just don't realize just because it's subtle, but they're very powerful nonetheless. She's received a fine arts degree in interior design, in addition to certifications in yoga, reconnective healing, and Feng Shui. Also, she's an expert in Feng Shui interior design and also an energy healer. And we're going to talk to her about that, especially that. And so what she does is she combines traditional Feng Shui techniques, design aesthetics, and intuition to turn challenging spaces into supportive environments to help improve the lives of those who live and encounter their space. She's also the author of several books, one which recently released titled Clutter Intervention, How Your Stuff is Keeping You Stuck. And boy, I know a lot of people out there going, okay, yeah. Yes, own it, own it, own it. But anyway, how are you doing today, Tisha?
I am doing so good. Thank you for having me on the show.
No, on the contrary, it is my pleasure. Tisha, and as it, in the introduction, you were an attorney, and was it a process for you to realize I don't want to be practicing law. I want to go into something as creative as interior design. What happened that led you to go from one thing to the other?
Yeah, so it was a very circuitous route. It was not a straight line in any way. Um, I I immediately knew I did not want to practice law. Um, but then figuring out what I wanted to do took it was about an 8-year journey. It was not something that happened overnight.
Wow.
As you mentioned in the introduction, I kind of fell in love with yoga and then got certified in yoga. And it was, I always call yoga the kind of the gateway drug into the healing
Okay.
arts,
Okay.
because it opens your mind to this other world. At
Mm-hmm.
least it did for me, and realizing the mind body connection and just how
Sure.
everything is so interrelated. And but during all this time, I was kind of tapping into my natural desire of spaces and homes, and I had some influence from my mom, who was an interior decorator.
Okay.
Um, and so at the time when, in college, your mind is, when you go to college, your mind is somewhat limited of what all, possibilities out there. And
Right.
so, in the 80s and 90s, it was, these careers that fell into these very, these boxes. And at the time, of course, being a Feng Shui consultant was never in my wheelhouse of
Okay.
possibilities. And so, anyway, I did get into a design degree while I was practicing law,
Okay.
and then I began to combine this with the healing arts things I was learning with energy work, and kind of put it all together and realized that we can heal homes or like work on the energy in spaces just like we can the body, and realizing that it's all the same. Energy is energy, whether it's your home, your body, or even your mind. And that actually became the name of my second book, Mind, Body, Home,
Hmm.
because of realizing just how interrelated the energy is between all of that.
Absolutely.
And yeah, so that I began my career down that road, and that was really 2006, 7, 8 when I kind of first began that, and written 4 books since. So yeah, it's been fun.
Right. And I'm so glad because, nowadays sometimes people, when people, the thing I want to find my purpose or that, like you said, that true calling. And sometimes people don't realize it doesn't have to be like, a clap of thunder and like, I know that I want to do that. It's, it's what you described. It's a process. And
Yeah,
like you said, your
we're
gateway drug was the yoga. And even then it took you, it sounds like 8 years, and you put the you applied the practical part, which went and did the interior design. So it was like a little journey to get from point A to point B for you. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, it was. And I think we're living in a time when where we are inventing the wheel of this kind of new world we're living in.
Hmm.
And the careers or the jobs or the skills that we have that are so different than they were before. So it is taking these, like, putting puzzle pieces together to create these new arts, or whatever you want to
Hmm.
call them, new sciences, and based on, in my case, based on principles that are thousands of years old. So it's nothing new
Right.
about it, but giving them a modern application. And so it does take putting different tools in your toolbox to come up with these new things that our new world needs.
Right, because and something that you referred to, which is like energies, and people don't realize, like you said, there's the mind body connection, but then there's an outer, which is the energy, how it affects where you live at. Um, and I imagine that what you do, or from what I understand, Feng Shui does, is it looks like at how is that energy working with I guess the space you live in. And a lot of people, just, it's because you just can't see it. You feel it one way or the other, good or
Yes,
bad. But I guess they just don't understand that sometimes that has a lot to do with how they feel and everything in all areas. Depending, I know sometimes some
absolutely.
rooms are better than others.
So I call, there's just so many different philosophies of feng shui, different schools of feng shui. I like to analogize it with actually yoga, and that the point is removing blocks, so that the energy can flow. So, for example, in yoga, there were blocks, or like our tight hips or our stiff shoulder. These are just clutter in the body, which are just
Mm-hmm.
stuck emotions. And
Right.
this is actually what feng shui. And so when you remove these blocks in your hips and your shoulders or whatever, the energy can flow, and you breathe better, you feel better, everything's better. And this is how our homes work as well. We are removing blocks. These blocks could be clutter, it could be furniture arrangement, it could be stuck energy, it could be like a myriad of things. And when we remove these blocks, the energy flows better in our home. We literally breathe better, and we feel better, and it trickles out from there. And feng shui can be used as a healing modality, and also as a manifesting modality,
Okay.
manifesting things that you want. So our
Mm-hmm.
home is just a kind of a second layer of skin for us, and it contains our stories, our memories, our emotions,
Sure.
our desires. Everything is in our home, and so we can actually begin to use our home as a manifesting tool. And that's part of it I really enjoy.
Right, because ultimately, the ability to manifest, it's like it's really difficult to manifest as you're not feeling well. And by this I mean
Yeah,
as in sick. If you're just feeling off kilter or uneasy or uncomfortable, it's very difficult to manifest anything. And if you do manifest something, it's probably not what you're looking to get. So I understand totally what you're saying as far as that's where it starts. But um, let's say when you go in there, um, you look at, is it each room in particular and then overall? Or
yes,
is it stuff from the front door inwards? How does that work as far as the feng shui is concerned?
yes, 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 and yes.
Okay.
Everything is related. But I always start with the client, the homeowner, the person, and like what isn't working in your life.
Ah, okay.
Okay, and so I am a detective to find where. So let's say manifesting a relationship, or manifesting a healthy relationship, or
Mm-hmm.
a committed healthy relationship. Where in your home is the block to that? And so I go through the home and like a little detective and go looking for it. And our
Okay.
subconscious mind, and let's say one has been blocked of like finding love, and
Mm-hmm.
it's for anyone who's been wanting a relationship. There are these subconscious fears and all these things. Well, they're in your house, and so with relationships, for example, and I'm just throwing this out as one example. You always look in the master bedroom.
Okay.
The master bedroom is a visual picture of the relationship or their lack of relationship.
Okay.
And and we subconsciously do these things, not realizing that are kind of sabotaging.
Yeah.
Uh, for example, having a picture of a single woman in the bedroom is your subconscious mind perpetuating being single.
Right. And
So once you start, or once you start either through working with a feng shui consultant, or looking into this kind of stuff, you can realize, your shadows or saboteurs are
mm-hmm.
actually visually sitting out in your house.
Right. And you're reinforcing them every time you look at this picture. It's like, oh yeah, single.
Yes.
Hmm. All right. You
But
know
the
what?
good
And I
news
hate
is
to
you can
say it,
actually see them.
decorative. There's so many beautiful pictures of just a woman.
I know.
It's like, wow. I mean, I
Now,
know
if
that they're
you
done to
are,
attract women customers because, but yeah, I see exactly what you mean. Whoa.
yeah. Now, if you're a female and you've recently gotten divorced and you're really wanting to empower the passive individuation,
Mm-hmm.
then yeah, a picture of a single woman actually would be appropriate. So
Right.
yeah.
So it all depends exactly what you're trying to manifest. Let me ask you, how about, and I think this might also go into part of a little bit of the clutter. How about keeping stuff from prior relationships, even if it's in a drawer put away? Does that affect that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And out of sight is not out of mind.
Mm-hmm.
So our subconscious knows where everything is. You can't
Yes.
hide from the subconscious mind.
Absolutely.
So it could be tucked away as far as you could possibly want it. In fact, we actually subconsciously do this. The things that you store in the darkest, literally the darkest areas of your home, like closets, drawers, is a telltale red flag of those are the things you don't want to deal with, and those are the things that are very potential blocking things that you are wanting. So
Right.
yeah, we have to really get clear with ourselves. But yeah, things from past relationships can definitely block a new one from coming in, and it depends on the specific circumstances. But if anyone is like wanting a relationship and hasn't been able to attract one, really take inventory of what items you still have from exes.
Right, because a lot of people, they one of two things, like you said. Either it's put away, like you said, out of sight but not out of mind. And then you ask yourself, well, why would it be so hard to either throw it away or give it away or donate it? Because it's like you're still trying to hang on to it. And then I know there's other people that they have it and they're thinking of, oh, it's practical. I'm still using it, that kind of stuff,
Right,
which is, I guess, is what they
right.
call an excuse. It's like,
Yes, exactly. A cover excuse. Yeah. Um, but those things like memorabilia, mementos, have no intrinsic value. So there's an emotional attachment to it in some way.
Okay.
Um, and usually, if you just take a few moments and what is it about this item, and this particular with relationships or things from past,
Mm-hmm.
it's sometimes it's always about an identity, and it may not even be about that person per se. It could be around identity you had when you were with that person. Maybe there's a certain lifestyle you had that you
Right.
liked, that you want again. It could be maybe with a group of friends during that time with that person that you are still hanging on to emotionally. So we have to really get clear with what we're really holding on to, and a lot of times it's not even about that person per se. So
Right. And I know sometimes, usually, if the relationship had its good parts, and like you said, you have some good memories attached to maybe certain things you're thinking, oh, that was such a good time, and just like when we take photographs of when we're on vacation, it's like, oh, I want
mm-hmm.
to look at these pictures and relive the moment I was doing this tourist thing. But when you're looking at it from the perspective of establishing a new relationship, that's almost like a hook in you that kind of keeps you back. Let me ask you, does the same thing
Yeah,
work if you're looking, let's say somebody is back on the job market, but they still got a bunch of stuff from their old job for whatever reason? Not necessarily that they hate it, but can it hold? And the reason why I say this is that I know a lot of people, they're saying, okay, I'm ready to move on or I'm better. But at the same time, they have this fear of, that job was my comfort zone. I knew what I was doing there.
yep,
And so
you're
it works
exactly
kind of on the
right.
same kind of thing where it might hold you back from taking that final leap or,
Exactly. So I have a chapter in my book dedicated to past careers, and here's what one of the misconceptions: like good memories or good associations can actually keep us as stuck in the past just as much as bad memories. So if
yes,
we believe the best is in the past, then it is. If that's
right,
really, if you're holding that belief subconsciously, then yes, you're gonna inhibit yourself from creating new good memories. So
right,
this goes to like the work stuff. Let's say, I mean, even like awards, trophies, or awards from like a job from the past can actually keep you stuck in that time period. Let's say you got the best salesman award for 1998,
right,
um, and it's really no longer applicable to where you are now. But like you said, that's kind of when you felt your best and like you were really on
sure,
your game. But here's the thing, like things from the past, they either provide a kind of a platform, a stepping stone to where we are now, in which case memorabilia is good. But if
mm-hmm,
it's tethering us to the past to where we're having a hard time moving forward, that's when it's not good. And that can
sure,
apply with jobs, relationships, family, memorabilia, and so forth. So and the payoff is once you ditch the Salesman 1998 award, or even if it's for me, I tell a story that my business suit from when I was an attorney,
mm-hmm.
when you finally release that, it could be just like the last
You know
1%
what?
of that old persona.
You know what?
As
I have to laugh because when you said that, in my prior work that I did, which I'm not going to mention, but I did used to have to go to court a lot, and
uh-huh,
I had court appropriate clothing for it, and the heels and the whole the whole thing. And then when you said, I was laughing to myself because I kid you not, it must have taken me 2 years to start looking at doing away. And then, and by the way, just my lifestyle, everything changed where that clothing, I didn't need it. I didn't use it. It was hanging there. It was just hanging there. And I would go into the closet. It was like, I wouldn't look at it because of the thought of, I should donate this stuff or do something. But it was like, okay, that still voice that you got. You're never going to use this clothing again in the foreseeable future. And if you ever did, you could go. But it took me at least 2 years to start trying to finally go through it, and say, okay,
yeah,
this, and the same thing with the heels, the whole package of with how you're dressed when you go. And so I understand that so well. because
Well,
it was, yeah, yeah.
I bet if you were able to think back of when you did let that stuff go, I bet your current career or the career that you were moving, like, I bet it took a step up
Oh yeah,
um,
yes. It
as
it
soon as you release that stuff. And that's where the payoff is. It brings all of your energy into the present moment instead of split partly in the past.
yes. You just because it's almost like and I'm sure people out there do they don't think of it that way. They look at it like what I used to do at the beginning from the practical aspect. Oh my God, this clothing is so nice and I spent a lot of money. And what if I need it? What if I have to go somewhere where, and then I won't have it? That's your first line of reasoning. You
Yes.
never think of that you're holding on to this for then, like I said, the first year goes by, it's like, okay, reality check here. You're not gonna need this clothing. You're not you, and it's like after a while, like I said, once you're going to the closet and you're looking at it, you go, okay, you can't deceive yourself anymore. So like I said, at year two is when I said, that's it. I kept a couple of pieces that were nicer, just but the rest. But by the way, and for anybody that's listening, I had to do it in increments. What I did was I
Yes.
had one of those trash bags in my closet, and I would look at some of them. I even tried some on, and little by little, it must have taken me like 4 months. Like I told myself, once a month, I'm going to drop off a bag at the thrift shop or Goodwill, one of the two. But it took me like 4 months to finally like go through everything.
Hmm. No, I think that's a great. That's a tip that I tell people too. It's like you don't have to feel like you have to throw out the bath with the bath water or what the sink with the kitchen the kitchen sink with the kitchen. Um, it's or the whatever the phrase is.
Yeah,
Bath
I know,
kitchen
right?
sink, whatever. It's like you don't have to like feel like you have to get rid of everything in one big purge. It can be
Right,
done in layers, and I think that's actually people. That's why people get overwhelmed a lot of times of like they just see like this entire house of stuff and they're like but like just doing it in increments and that's because honestly when you declutter it's energy healing it's like releasing things out of your body. It's
right,
very serious energy work, and so it actually should be done incrementally. In fact, some
right,
people actually can have physical like ailments as a result of purging too much too fast.
right. Now let me ask you, how about what happens when you go? Have you ever gone to somebody's and they're they're not outright hoarders, they're borderline hoarders where we're talking clutter like this, not only what they just not good memory stuff or reliving, where you go in there and you're like, okay, don't tell me what's wrong because I can tell something's got to be wrong, just like because there's no energy flow. Have you ever
Yeah,
come across stuff like that or
yeah.
situations like that?
I luckily do not apparently resonate or attract hoarding situations in my practice. But for people where it is just a quantity issue, like just too much stuff,
Mm-hmm.
usually what their underlying issue is it's a subconscious way of distraction. It's like have you ever been around people like who have the TV turned up so loud that it's a distraction method,
Right,
so that there can't be communication in the house and like you can't even hear your own thoughts.
right.
That's what clutter, like a large amount of quantity of clutter is. It's a big distraction so that we stay confused, we stay unclear, and we don't have to look at our stuff, look at our life.
So basically what you're
So
describing is something they're self-soothing, but with
yeah,
with a clutter. The yeah,
yeah,
it doesn't okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
yeah,
Which is because and one of the things that I know that everybody's seen that show The Hoarders where it's like God Almighty, that it's like horrible because people like live in really horrid conditions where things have gotten away from them. But I know there's people that there's no question of of trash or anything like that. But at the same time, they kind of like either don't let go of stuff and then they buy other stuff and they're very neat about it. It's like they keep a lot of stuff and it's very neat and put away and organized. But at the same time, it's either stuff that, like me, that they're never going to use or just stuff that they want and it's there and I
yeah.
think people don't realize that clutter is the same. works that same way, right? It doesn't have to be just junk. It could be
That's right. There's a misconception that if you're organized, you don't have clutter, and that could be
right.
further from the truth. You can have very organized clutter. It can be color coded
Okay.
and labeled,
Right, right.
but clutter is anything that you no longer love or use, that's keeping you stuck in the past. It's taking up valuable space for new energy to come flowing in. It's preventing new opportunities to come into your life. And so, yeah, it could be $1 million painting. The
Mm-hmm.
cost of painting, it could be clutter. If it was, if there's, for whatever reason, we could come up with a story around that if we
Right,
wanted to.
right.
But
Yeah.
yeah, you're exactly right. There's no price tag on clutter. There's also no price tag on very valuable things that are not clutter as well. It could be a scrap, piece of paper from your spouse that says "I love you," with no intrinsic value, and that's not clutter.
Right.
But something very valuable in terms of dollars can very well be clutter.
So, and what happens, let's say, like you said, you were talking about items that have an emotional, allure or whatever, but have you ever come across where somebody, like you said, has bought this really nice, super expensive item, but just the place where they put it is like, no, you know, not there,
Well,
not in that corner.
yeah, furniture is a bit. It can be clutter for sure. I see this a lot with clients. There's like too much furniture to
Right.
where it clogs up the energy flow in a house. And yeah, some people have a hard time getting rid of the furniture, which it really is a big block. I mean, if you think of the size, quantity, and the density of furniture, it takes up a lot of space. And so if you have too much of that, then yeah, it's a definite block. And
Right.
so, and this is where clutter and Feng Shui start to really work together. In Feng Shui, there's what's called the Bagua map, and we can overlay it over our floor plan and see where all the areas of our life fall within our home. And
Okay.
so, if I come across, a room with way too much furniture and it is clearly like major energy blocks, there's going to be a correlation with where that room falls on the Bagua map with whatever's going on in their life. So if it's in a wealth corner, then they're going to be blocked financially, and so forth. And so usually there's stories around the furniture, or there's you got a good deal at a flea market, and there was a lot of pride around it, and that they got such a good deal, and which is a lack mindset, which leads into the lack of money and so forth. So there's always everything is so related.
Well, and let me ask you, what happens, let's say, for people that live in an apartment building? In other words, they really can't affect the building itself. They can only affect, let's say, their entrance into their apartment. Are there remedies for stuff like that? Let's say that because that they can't shift the building, or they can't, in other words, they can't affect anything outside the front door of their apartment.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, there's plenty they can do with their own space.
Okay.
There's always plenty to work with of our own doing, to where we don't even have to look outside of our space. But I think you're referring to like if it's like a directional thing.
Right, right. Yeah,
Um,
like, I've always heard that sometimes if your front door and I've always thought, well, what if your front door faces a certain direction, but you live in a building whose main entrance is in another direction? I was always
yeah.
thinking, how do they figure that
So
one out?
uh, there's different schools of feng shui, and I don't practice that type of feng shui. It's
Okay.
the more Eastern version of feng shui. And in fact, I mean, the exact thing you're talking about is a lot of Asian buyers will immediately uh, dismiss a property if it's not facing the right way.
Wow.
So that it's a very it's a that's a very alive and and used modality. And so people who are schooled in that, they won't even purchase a home, or in this example, rent an apartment, if
Right.
it's from the get go. but actually I don't practice that type of feng shui. Even though I'm not saying it's not valid by any means, but
Right, right.
um, in the more Western version, we actually go more by the human energy and how the human energy enters the space. Our mind is so powerful, and how we and the energy that we put out into a space. So we look at the front door and making it very inviting to come in, and inviting the energy into the house. And then from there, having it kind of meander through the space with a nice energy flow. You don't want the energy to rush or stagnate. You want
Mm-hmm.
to kind of meander through the home, which is actually sacred geometry. But there's a lot that can be there's a lot that can go wrong inside the house, but there's a lot of ways. Almost everything is fixable
Okay, that's
using
what,
feng shui techniques.
right.
Yeah,
That's what I was about to ask you because sometimes I imagine for whatever reason you don't own it or you just can't knock down a wall or whatever. It's like
right.
so there's ways to fix it is what you're saying if something is not
Absolutely.
right. And um as far as I want to ask you specifically about the master bedroom because as much as your home is your sanctuary, I think your bedroom or where you sleep is like the inner sanctum of your sanctuary.
Yes,
So I imagine
absolutely.
that where you sleep, that's like super. Uh, how can I say it? It's important not only because what you spend there, but your dream time and everything.
Hmm.
As far as the placement of the bed and everything, right? That's
Yes,
important.
yes, absolutely. Yeah, very sacred spaces. I think where you're going with that. Yes, and you want it to be relaxing. It's the one room in the house that needs to be more on the yin side instead of yang.
Hmm.
Yin being the uh, very relaxing, very quiet. Yang being more the active, the masculine energy. Yin is an energy where we can relax and sleep and dream and better. And so like more monochromatic colors as opposed to like bright colors, or even a lot of the times the artwork in our spaces will definitely affect the energy. So you wouldn't want like a downtown New York cityscape, photograph in the bedroom. You'd want more like a relaxing landscape in the bedroom. So things like that are will help sleep better. You want to minimize. You don't want bookshelves in the bedroom. You can have
Really,
like a couple of books on a nightstand, but you want to minimize the amount of books. Books are just a lot of energy. You
really,
also want to
wow.
yeah. You also want to minimize mirrors. In fact, I advise having no mirrors in the bedroom. Mirrors
God,
across from the bed are said to bring in a third party, or that third party could be paranormal activity.
oh my God.
So,
And I'm thinking to myself,
yeah.
that's where everybody has their mirror. Oh wow.
So, no mirror across from the bed. If anyone listening has a mirror across the bed, remove it today.
Oh,
You can have a mirror to the side, but that doesn't have the same ramifications as if it's across from the bed.
mm-hmm.
But it's still, if you have any problems sleeping at night, then I wouldn't have any mirrors in the bedroom at all.
That is, I had not heard of that. I'm thinking to myself, God, just about everybody I know that I can think of. I have, believe it or not, I have a mirror, but I don't. I have it. It was one of those things where it looks like it's like woodwork, and when you open the doors, it's got the mirror there. But I mean, I've got a mirror.
Okay.
My bathroom mirror is what I look at myself. But I think to myself, God, I've always had a mirror. Because, like you said, everybody thinks of this is where you get ready. You want to, look at yourself before you leave, out the door. That is incredible.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
And the
if
thing also about
the
the books,
bath,
I didn't know that.
yeah, if the bathroom mirror, if it is across the bed, then keep the bathroom door closed at night.
That's another
So
thing.
if you can see the mirror when you're laying in bed in the bathroom, then keep that door closed at
Ooh,
night.
interesting. Very interesting. And so many people just, so many master bedrooms have, the attached bathroom.
Yes. Yeah,
What?
and a lot of in the 90s, there's the trend of having the mirrored closet
Oh
doors.
my God, you're right. You're
Um,
right.
yeah, those should be like outlawed.
I can
um,
imagine you walk in, you go, "Ah!" It's like that's.
yeah,
But you're absolutely right. I remember that. I remember where it was like, that was the thing, the decorative thing, and even when they built,
yep,
these developments, it was like, if you want to pay extra, we'll get you mirrored. Oh my
that's right.
God, I'm, just, I'm
So
coming.
I recommend replacing those if you can. If you can't, there's the you can put something over them. You can.
Okay.
I actually purchased a 80s home last year, and it had the mirror door. So put like a frosted application, and it
Mm-hmm.
has kind of this like modern look to it now, and it came out really really nice.
Right. So there's ways
Um,
that things that can be done.
yeah.
But boy,
Yes.
there's a lot of people probably that are going to be hearing this going, oh, what? And it is, and I think it's, there's always been stuff to make you sleep, but I don't, lately it's, you see all these bunch of commercials for different either natural stuff or whatever to make people sleep or to stay asleep, and everybody thinks it's because,
Right.
and I'm thinking, I wonder if they realize that part of it might also not have to do with, it's because you've got something going on in your
Yeah.
bedroom. Oh, wow. And has And let me tell you something, there's nothing like getting a good night's sleep. By the second or third night, most people feel really bad. That you feel you just don't you low energy, everything that a lot of people complain about, and it's just because either you're not sleeping enough, you're not going into REM sleep. But I had no idea. And how about the placement of plants? Because I know a lot of people put plants. Is that good or bad or uh
Yeah, plants are really good. They're like little ion machines. They clean the air. Uh, they're really good for breathing, for clearing out toxins in a room. Just from just environmental toxins. Uh,
okay.
I recommend avoiding spiky plants. Um, you know, Spiky plants connect. The energy can be a little spiky,
Okay.
unless you're like trying to ward off people. Then
Okay.
they're effective for that. Even like cactus, energetically or obviously prickly. They're good for if you're wanting extra like security. But
Mhm.
like you wouldn't want it on your nightstand. You're gonna push people away. But succulents are good. They're not prickly like the cactus.
Right.
And but yeah, so stay with like soft, full leaves. Um, most house plant we're considered house plants are very feng
Right.
shui friendly.
Is there something most people should have in their front door that universally you think this is a good idea?
Yeah, the front door is a phrase we use in feng shui called the primary mouth of qi, which qi is just energy. Primary mouth of energy coming into the house. So it's like the inhale breath
Mm-hmm.
of us. And so we want to invite energy in, and so there's just some very very commonsensical ways of doing that. You want to have your doorbell or door knocker working. Uh, Doors also represent opportunities, so you want to have when opportunity comes a knocking, you want to be able to hear it. You want to
Okay.
welcome it in,
Right.
and so having a welcome mat, chimes are good just to bring in energy. A little water feature can be nice to bring in the energy. So, yeah, you want to think of making the energy inviting, and you can even think about in terms of people, because people are actually energy. So,
Right.
if people have a hard time finding your house or finding your front door, then they're going to have a hard time. The energy is going to have a hard time getting to you.
Right.
So, unless you are like a high level celebrity and you don't want to be found.
Yeah.
Other than that, like you want to, particularly if you are self-employed or you're looking for more opportunities in love or
Mm-hmm.
relationships, then you want to have a nice, welcoming front door. If your house is hiding, then you're hiding.
Right. No, I've seen some more modern architecture, like maybe in the last 20 years, some developments where they put the entrance over almost to the side, like you said, like a hidden. uh,
Yeah.
entrance into the front door, that it's like, okay, I guess the door is back over on the side of the house and they just follow the sidewalk. But yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yes. Yep.
People don't, that's really
Yeah.
very interesting.
I wish architects would take
Take
feng
a
shui
course in Feng
courses, because
Shui.
that's a lot of times where it starts. Well, first of all, it starts with the land, and not all land should be lived on. And then Then from there, the floor plans, which is from the architect's perspective, floor plans are very important in how the energy flows or how it's cut off, and um, areas that are missing, and so forth. So yeah, I wish architects would. I teach I certify people in feng shui, and I've had some architects come through my course, and I'm always very excited when I see that.
They must be going, oh. And now that you mentioned the land, what is it? For, let's say, for, because I know some people now are thinking, well, buy the piece of land and then eventually build a house. What should they be looking for to, or not, if they're looking at a piece of land?
Well, in some ways, this is where the real estate market and feng shui really agree, and that is location, location, location.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the good feng shui lots or area, or even in cities, there's areas, cities and areas in cities that have good feng shui and bad feng shui, and feng shui actually translates into wind, water, and it was actually originally used for siting auspicious locations, originally for burial sites, and then it became for locating for emperors' castles and such. So
Oh,
it's actually, at its root, is actually for finding good locations. And so they look at how the wind and the water shape the land to determine an auspicious uh, land site. So we still use these principles in feng shui, and we look at, I mean, so where you see across the country where the highest cost of living
mm-hmm.
is also where the best feng shui is, where
Really?
there's some slightly rolling hill. I live in LA, so just within LA, which there's a huge difference in prices within LA itself,
Mm-hmm.
and where the good feng shui is, where there's the hills and the water, is your most expensive areas, and then the less expensive areas that's very
Right.
flat and dry, is not so good feng shui. So it kind of, unfortunately, you kind of look at the real estate market,
Right, right.
or the house,
Absolutely.
even now we have neighborhoods, or these developed neighborhoods, and some of them are done really nicely with kind of like meandering sidewalks and really good city planning,
Mm-hmm.
and that's good feng shui. And then the old tracks, the old just like straight roads that intersect, very gridded, is
Right.
not the better feng shui.
Right, because before I
So
think
yeah,
a lot of the when they were doing, like you said, the grid work or city developments and infrastructure, when they're laying down the roads, which is usually one of the first things, this was very geometric, this way, that way,
yes,
and that was it. No, about the only time it curved was because they had to be, for some reason they couldn't make it go straight. But I see exactly what you mean as far as what that has to do with, and you're absolutely right. I'm thinking of all these different locations where the real estate location, location, location. And how about people that are thinking of buying houses? If, does traffic have impact uh, the energy?
yes. When you're looking for houses, if you're shopping around and going to different houses, the universe gives you major signs, along the way. You look out for, well, on a more practical level, are there a lot of for sale signs on the street? Are there, are people, strolling baby carriages, or are there loose dogs?
Right,
Like
exactly.
in the moment of looking at the house, I've had some really interesting things happen along the way of me looking at houses, and of
Hmm.
like the neighbor comes out and says your part's wrong, or like
It's
that
like,
kind of
oh,
aggression. I once had a client, and I was helping him shop for a place, and it was in a condo complex, and the manager was knocking the door, make sure no one was there, and no one answered, so we all went in, and this woman comes out of nowhere and says, "You do not belong here." And it was like, okay, that answers that.
Yeah,
Like
there.
that obvious of a sign. You do not belong here.
And it's like,
So
boy, that's pretty
there's
loud and clear, straightforward.
yeah, yeah.
Not
And other
ambiguous
times,
at all.
you might go to a house and there's like a rainbow, appears.
Right.
So there's some very visible signs the universe gives in those moments. Anytime you also want to look at the history of a house. If there's been a series of foreclosures, a series of divorces,
Mm-hmm.
houses, also the land holds patterns, and yeah, if there's been wars or any kind of oppression on the land, is going
Mm-hmm.
to stay with it for some time. Um, uh, I've had some people in the Northeast with houses on Revolutionary War grounds. Also, some people in the South on Civil
Right.
War grounds, and that energy is still lurking in the land. And you'll see these neighborhoods with a lot of foreclosures or a lot of problems,
Mm-hmm.
and it's still leftover energy. But if you're conscious of it, it can be cleared. I mean, it's hard to clear a whole neighborhood or a whole city,
Right.
but individual lot you can do a lot with.
Right. And I imagine also the previous owners, let's say if the land was okay in the sense of, but if let's say you had occupants of the house who were like, for lack of a better word, really dysfunctional, and I imagine that
Yeah,
energy stays there even though they're gone.
absolutely. That's right. Our spaces hold patterns, and these patterns, unless there's been some serious space clearing, you always want to space clear a house when you move into it, because I don't think any of us want to live out the lives of the previous owners.
No, and
Like,
I agree.
even if it's good, let's like I want my own life.
Right. And
Um,
yeah, and some of the, and when you mentioned earlier about that neighborhood, sometimes you go to a neighborhood or development, it looks beautiful. I went, and I'm gonna do a real short story of what one time I was visiting some place. It was a business call, and beautiful houses on a lake, beautiful and uh enclosed neighborhood. So I pulled up, and I didn't park behind, the garage. I just parked up on the street, right, basically on the curb. It was one of those developments where there's no sidewalk. It's just the street and then the
mhm.
lawn and the house. So as soon as I go in, the gentleman, the owner, he goes, "Did you park on the grass?" And I looked at him and I'm like, no. He goes, "Is your tire touching the grass?" I was like, "I don't know. I don't think so." And he told me, goes, "Look, go back out there, because if your tire, any of your tires, even one tire is any a little bit on the grass on the front lawn, the management company, the ones that run, will tow your car." And I
Oh my
looked
gosh.
at him and I was like, "What?" And he goes, "Yes, and hurry up."
Oh my gosh.
I couldn't believe that. And to drive around the neighborhood, it was beautiful. It was beautiful, beautiful everything. And of course, and I'm thinking, my God, this is like, like the Stepford Wives of development. Everything looks really
Right.
beautiful,
Right.
except don't step out of line. And
Right. Yes.
it was later on what late, I spoke to them, and they were like, "Yeah, we not only do we have to warn, anybody that comes to visit us, we're kind of stuck on the same thing. We have to park our cars in our driveway, and if we ever have anybody visiting or family, it's, it becomes a house." I was like, "Wow." But yeah, I could see what you mean as far as you got to look at those signs along the way. Um, as far as, do I really want to live like this, or do I want to live in something that's I'm going to be pulling my hair out? Let's talk about frustration. And
Mhm.
let me ask you something. When at what let's say, if somebody says, I like, let's say, like you said, I want to go, I was in a relationship, I want to go on and I'm ready for a new relationship, but I just can't engage. I don't meet the right person, or the people I do meet are not the right ones for me. Uh, what happens, Tisha, when, let's say, they contact you? And like, I know you said, well, I'm going to ask you what's not working. Do you ever have people that sometimes find it hard to believe that, like you said, that maybe the placement of certain things, or certain things that they're keeping is actually affecting them not being able to get on with their lives and have a new relationship?
Yeah. So, which usually when people hire me, they're very open for change. They would
Okay.
not be. It would not even be an energetic match for them to hire me if they weren't ready for change, because that's what comes with me is change.
Okay.
um, so, and so the reason why working in the home can be so effective and brilliant is that, so let's say this in this example, this person has been, having this problem for quite some time, and they can't really get to their own issue of what's going
Mm-hmm.
on. But when you see the tangible evidence of it in a house, and let's just say she only has one nightstand.
Right.
You always want to have two nightstands.
Right.
One nightstand is
Exactly.
a symbol
Exactly.
of either non-committed or not in a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And when she can see that actually playing out in her bedroom,
Right.
uh, she will have a realization. It's different because I've done energy work, energy healing, the chakras, and in the visible realms of energy. And it's hard for people to connect the dots. But when you see, okay, I'm not even allowing anyone into metaphorically into my bedroom,
Right.
literally or figuratively, then yeah, okay, I've got some intimacy issues, or whatever the case is.
Right.
Or maybe it's like the drawers are so overstuffed with clutter, or maybe the room is so cluttered that she's embarrassed to have anyone in the room.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's like, okay, I see now that I'm not allowing someone in to see the real me, or I need, you can have these realizations on another level than you can with other healing modalities, or using the word healing in a meaning change, modalities that promote change. You can really see what's going on a very
Mm-hmm.
tangible physical level.
Now, how about, because I know we've been talking about women, how about men? Because I know men sometimes, despite what people think, there comes, I think, sometimes some guys that are like, I want to move on from this old relationship, or I want to meet the right person, or I'm ready. How do they act? Are they more open towards it when you go in there and you're like exactly like what you described? Hey, you know what? You only have one, because men don't, they're sometimes they're very, they don't really think that much about stuff like nightstands. I mean, you see some guys' houses and you're like, oh my God, they're just like, um,
Yes. Yeah, so Feng Shui does not discriminate between men and women. It equally applies.
well, and the reason I
and
want to tell you is, for example, when I met my husband, his dining room, he had put down rubber mats and he basically had a small gym in his dining room. It was like, he had weight sets. He had, like, who needs, this is a perfect space for me to work out. I was like, okay, you know, that's what I'm saying, that, men sometimes they don't really think about that, the practicality of like that the living room goes there and the dining room
right.
stuff. And do you find yourself that, are they as open minded about, when, even though I know you said that once, if they've asked you to help them out, they're more open minded, but that they actually see where, yeah, all that stuff you got thrown in the corner, that's why you're
Yes.
having a hard time getting over your ex-girlfriend.
Yes. I have definitely have more women clients than men, and have a lot of men. Usually, when the men hire me, it's at the urging of their of their
Uh-huh.
girlfriends.
Yeah.
But they're usually open. They don't quite get the emotional connection like women do. But they're very open for, like, yeah, whatever you say, I'll do, kind of thing. They'll just kind of go. They're more action oriented. They're like, yeah, we'll move the couch, or yeah, sure, I'll get rid of that. They don't necessarily make the connection, connect the dots as well as women, but they're very open to taking action. But yeah, I've had several, like a lot of actually lately, a lot of men hiring me because their girlfriends say they should, or they're wanting to make, like, for example, in case of your husband before y'all were married,
Mm-hmm.
it'd be someone like him saying, like, my girlfriend's, kind of give me a hard time about my space. Can you, like, help me out here?
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And you know what? And I know that everybody puts it on women, but guys get hung up on prior relationships also. They might not talk about it as much or let on about it, but they can get hooked up, hung up on old girlfriends, ex-girlfriends, And
Absolutely. They're actually worse about clutter than women are of holding on to things from the past. And it's like women are the more consumers, but men hang on to things more so than women.
hmm
And this is kind of a general stereotype, but it's because men don't process emotions as well as women. Their stuff is more of a container for their emotions, and so getting rid of like a baseball jacket from college is like getting rid of their left arm. Like
right,
they
yes,
so heavily
yes.
identify with things because they can't let go as well as women actually.
Right, yeah, and that's it's prototypical, yeah, that they want to keep the sweaty old shirt or the baseball cap or the whatever
Yes,
from whenever. It's like,
yes.
how old is that? Oh, I used that in junior high. Okay, let it go. Like, yes, and I know exactly what you mean. And that people, because men don't verbalize it, they think men are unemotional, and sometimes they're quite emotional. It's just that, like you said, they just put it away. That little
Yep.
thing right there, and yeah, then they just, but it's there. It's there, and
Yep.
yeah, but men and women, we both have our things as far as that we do, but like you said, it's tied into our subconscious mind, and that's really what dictates what's happening or not happening or manifesting in our reality.
That's right. Yes.
And but I guess we're so busy. Most people, you don't have the time to really think about that. All you get is the end result, which is like, I can't. I'm not moving forward. I really feel really uncomfortable in this house or in this room. I can't get over my ex-boyfriend or girlfriend, or I can't meet somebody else, or I just don't feel well. Have you ever come across a case or any client that they just felt generally unwell and it all had to do with how the energy was moving or not moving in their house?
Yes, and yeah, a lot of people come to feng shui because of health reasons.
Really?
It can be a really great modality for health purposes. But here's the thing: it's it's not necessarily you're sick because your house is. It's actually your vibrational. It's a vibrational match. So
Oh.
mm, yeah, and even like kind of like what we call bad floor plan or bad feng shui floor plans or a bad lot, you have to be a vibrational match to attract to a house like that, or in a cluttered situation to a it's a vibrational match. So it's like attracts like.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's kind of a house that has like health issues, well, there was a reason why you attracted to that house. And so that's what I'm more interested in. It's like we need to get at the root of like why you're calling in sickness to begin with, and then we can
Right.
work from the curing the house, the issues in the house, and you simultaneously.
Yeah. Yeah, in other words, how did this location for some reason feed your soul on a subconscious
That's right.
level?
Yes.
And of all the places maybe that you could have gone to, this is the one that, and yeah, and sometimes I think it goes along the same lines also. You know how some people they have like the same type of like repeat relationships that you say,
Yes.
what is it about it? I imagine that this is the equivalent, but on a relationship, or I mean on a real estate level, or the place where you
That's
choose
right.
to live.
That's right. Yeah. So that's why like moving is never a feng shui remedy until you really get of
Oh,
the core of the problem. Otherwise,
in
you're
other
just going
words, you
to
can't run away
re-manifest the same
because
situation. That's
everywhere
right.
you go, there you are.
That's right.
Interesting. God, a lot of people, because you know what? I wouldn't be surprised how many people actually do exactly that. They up and move, thinking, "Oh man,
Hmm.
that place is just not good." then, and then they just,
Yeah.
like on a
Just
hamster
like
wheel.
relationships, like, oh, this person isn't working out, I'm leaving, and you wind up in the same situation in a different person.
And I know you mentioned that sometimes are there places that because let's say water, river, or some other thing that there's too much energy, like too much where,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
for human beings anyway.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. It's called shar chi and feng shui. It's too much, like too much energy. It can show up in a lot of different ways, but it's it's less common than lack of energy.
Mm-hmm.
um,
Right.
uh, yeah.
All right, because you see, I mean, sometimes you look at these very scenic places like, oh, I would love to build a house there. But now Knowing what I know now, it's like, yeah, maybe being close to that rushing river down there at the valley,
Right.
So
Yes.
there's
Yes.
stuff to consider.
Yeah.
Interesting. So much, so interesting. Tisha, I want to thank you so very much for spending this time today. I could go on and on. I had so many questions I wanted to get into clutter, but I know you're busy and I've been showing there the covers of your books. So if anything for the people that are listening to the podcast, what is the website that they can go to look at more information about your services?
Yeah, just my name, tishamorris.com. So Tisha Morris, Morris.com, and everything that takes you to everywhere.
Okay. And as far as if they need to purchase the books, they can do it there. Where can they go to? Barnes Nobles,
Yeah,
Amazon?
yeah, they're available everywhere. Amazon. You can also link from my website as
Perfect.
well. Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. Again, thank you so very much. You have been wonderful. And I'm telling you, I could go on here, but it was like a real eye opener, just some of the stuff that you said. And I'm sure there's people that are going to be going, "What? Huh? What do you mean the mirror? That mirror thing." Ah, I was like, oh my God. I can't imagine about 80% of people have mirrors in their bedrooms. That alone.
I know.
Wow. What an eye opener. Thank you again, Tisha. You have been
All right.
wonderful,
Thank
darling.
you.
Take care.
All right.
Bye
Bye.
bye. So, guys, what did you think? Let me tell you, I'm not kidding you. I'm still going, huh? That is really incredible. Because you know what, myself included, I think about just like I'm not kidding you. I think it's about 80% of people have some type of a mirror in their house. I mean, in their bedroom. I have a mirror, but I have a small mirror and it's behind this angel thing, and it like closes so you don't know there's a mirror unless you open the doors. I use my bathroom mirrors. Same thing that she said as far as if you can see the mirror from your bed. God, there's so many people that one of two things. If it's the master bedroom, they've got the master bath attached to it, depending on the placement of your bed. Yeah, you could easily be looking at the reflection. Or if you happen to be one of those people, have a hallway and there's sometimes um, bedrooms that they're opposite or they're at an angle real close to the bathroom. And depending on where, you could be in that line of sight of the mirror. I wanted to talk to her more about that portal to the paranormal, but it was like I also wanted to talk to her about all the other things with, you know, um, as far as what she called what's practical feng shui. And the good thing about it is that there's remedies for it. In other words, let's face it, not everybody is thinking of placement or feng shui when either they purchase a house or, like I said, if you moved into an apartment. It's after the fact. And then when you come to somebody like her, it's like, okay, here I am and I can't move. So what can I do? So there's fixes for stuff. There's fixes for stuff. But if without knowing specifics, if you get the gist of what she's saying, less is more. In other words, the more crap you have, the more problems you might find as far as the energy thing with feng shui. Like she was saying, you might have this beautiful, pricey furniture, but if you have too much of it, not good. Isn't about good. So same thing, less is more. Because sometimes we get caught. And I was the thing about the clothing. In other words, it starts from inner out. The clutter from your personal small belongings outwards to stuff that you have in your house, um, things that you want to keep. And she you know, like I've said, my work as a hypnotherapist, I'm really, really familiar with the way the subconscious works. And the subconscious will sabotage you where, yeah, you think I'm keeping that whatever because at that time You know how everybody, your memories are always good, the patina of age, but the bad fades away and you only remember, oh, it was the golden time. And part of it might be the hanging on to also who you were with or what you were doing at that time, whether it's a job or let's say a relationship. Okay. Um, same thing. Uh, Same thing like what she said. You tuck it away in a drawer, and you could just say, well, and I've done this myself sometimes. I'm in a hurry. I'm putting stuff away, especially when you move. Like when you move to a new house, you throw stuff out when you're moving, when you're packing, and then when you're unpacking, you put it off throwing it when you're packing. And then when you're unpacking, you're in a hurry and you're tired. Oh, I'll just put it in there. I'll put it in this drawer and I'll come back to it and do something with it. Let me tell you something. That's exactly how the subconscious works. It tricks you into doing exactly that, saying, "Oh, I'll come back to it. All right, I'll. Right now, I'm really busy. I'm tired. If I." And that's exactly how it works. And then, like she said, out of sight doesn't mean out of mind. And by this is really important. People don't realize that yes, your conscious mind is what we're working on, operating, and but the subconscious mind is there. Just because you don't voluntarily, actively remember it, subconscious mind does remember it, is aware of it, does remember what you put away in that drawer 5 years ago. That you, of course, put it away maybe in uh, the attic, the basement, or in that spare bedroom where you stick all the other junk. But it's there. The subconscious mind knows it's there, always knows it's there. You might not. And that's happened to me where I've opened stuff and I'm going, of course, not everything is got an emotional tie where it's hindering or holding you back from stuff, but it does. A lot of people want to overlook the obvious, especially when that area of their life is, like she says, is there's something, either they're in trouble or it doesn't, it just it stagnates. And I had clients sometimes, same thing. It wasn't that they were in dire straits, whether it's a relationship or money but they couldn't move forward either. They were there, they were like stuck. And they were like, I can't figure out why I'm stuck. Once upon a time, this was good for me, but now I'm ready to move forward and I can't seem to do that. And a lot of it has to do, of course, with our fear of change, our fear of the unknown. That's how basic it gets for the subconscious mind, for humans. Pain and pleasure, known and unknown. That's really what drives us and what holds us back. Okay? What's known is equivalent to pleasure. What's unknown is equivalent to pain. And change, the humans interpret it as unknown, therefore it equals pain. It's that basic. And that's what I'm saying. Sometimes when we do new things and you feel uncomfortable, that's fine. You're okay. You're okay. It's good to feel uncomfortable. Because basically you're putting yourself in a situation where you feel uncomfortable and your subconscious mind is going, go back. No, don't do that anymore. Well, no, we need to go back to what we know. And that's where you gotta stand your ground and stay what you do. But there's another side to that besides the subconscious mind, is addressing it, and then what Tisha does, which is where you live, where you spend your time, whether it's the home or your bedroom or maybe even your office, for people that have, an office in their home. Maybe the bedroom is where you sleep, but then you have a home office, which is how you make your money. What if that's not right? The, that could be a problem, now couldn't it? But anyway, guys, I hope you liked the show. I loved it. Check out Tisha's site, also her books. You've seen them. Uh, Believe me, I think we all suffer from some degree or other of clutter, of not letting go, and giving a lot of excuses for whatever. Um, my true believers, don't forget to go to miamighostchronicles.com, submit your story tab, catch me Facebook and Twitter. I live stream there. I've got lots of interesting people coming up. Okay, and uh, thank you all so much for being part of my audience. I really truly appreciate that you come back and share this time with me. Take care.